Are you tired of setting goals that never seem to stick? You know the type. Ambitious resolutions that sound great at the start, but by mid-February, they're nothing more than a distant memory. What if I told you the problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough, but that you've been going about it all wrong? Yeah, it's time to rethink everything you thought you knew about goal setting. In this video, we're diving into a pragmatic approach to goal setting, one that's not about wishful thinking or empty motivation, but about practical, actionable steps that actually work. No fluff, no unrealistic promises, just real solutions that will change the way you approach your goals for good. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have a strategy in place that not only gets you moving, but keeps you moving. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Let's get into it. Number 1. The fail-forward formula. Let's get real for a second. Failure isn't your enemy. In fact, it's one of the best things that could happen to you. Sounds a little crazy, right? But hear me out. What if I told you that failure isn't something you need to avoid at all costs? In fact, it's actually your ticket to success. Trust me, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the truth is, failing forward can be your most powerful strategy. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Failing? No way. I'm supposed to avoid failure at all costs. But here's the thing. What if avoiding failure is actually keeping you stuck? We all know the feeling. You set a goal, work hard, and then, bam, something goes wrong. Maybe the project falls apart. Maybe your plan doesn't work the way you imagined. You've been there, right? And I bet you've probably spent way too much time beating yourself up about it. But what if I told you that all of that is actually part of the process? The key isn't avoiding failure, it's using it to propel you forward. So here's where it gets interesting. I'm introducing you to the fail-forward formula. It's pretty simple, actually. Instead of fearing failure, embrace it as a necessary step in your journey. Think about it. When you fail, you learn something new, right? You're forced to adjust, pivot, and improve. Instead of obsessing over the perfect outcome, focus on the lessons you can take from every misstep. The why behind this approach is rooted in psychology. Our brains learn and grow from challenges, not from success. It's the failure that forces us to adapt, think creatively, and keep pushing forward. So yeah, it's not about avoiding failure, it's about failing in the right direction. Let me tell you a quick story from my own life. A few months ago, I was working on a huge video project. I had everything lined up, great concept, solid plan, and a really tight deadline. Everything was looking good, until halfway through, the whole thing completely fell apart. The footage got corrupted, the files wouldn't load, and my plans were crushed. I'm not going to lie, I felt like I'd just hit rock bottom. But instead of quitting or getting overwhelmed, I took a step back and asked myself, what can I learn from this? I had to shift gears fast. I tried different editing techniques, used some unconventional software, and in the end, I ended up with a final product that was even better than what I'd initially imagined. That's the power of the fail-forward formula. Sure, I didn't get it perfect the first time, but by embracing the failure and adjusting my approach, I ended up with a result that exceeded my expectations. Here's the real takeaway for you. Failure is not the end. It's the beginning of a better plan, a sharper strategy, and a more resilient version of you. So the next time things don't go your way, don't freak out. Don't retreat into a shell. Look at failure as a challenge to grow, to push further, and to get one step closer to your goal. This is about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your growth. Because when you fail forward, you're not just moving forward in your goals, you're moving forward in your life. Remember, your goals, your journey, your rules. Fail forward, learn faster, and keep climbing. Number 2, reverse psychology goal setting. What if I told you the best way to achieve your goals is to trick yourself into not achieving them? Sounds strange, right? But trust me on this, reverse psychology isn't just for convincing toddlers to eat their vegetables. It's actually a powerful tool when it comes to setting and achieving goals, and I promise it's not as mind-gamesy as it sounds. Stick with me, and I'll explain. You've probably been in a situation where you set a goal with the best intentions, only to see it slip through your fingers, right? Maybe you told yourself you'd work out every day this week, and then a few days in, you're back on the couch binge-watching Netflix. Or you promised yourself you'd start that side project, but somehow it never gets off the ground. We've all been there, desiring change, but struggling with the follow-through. But what if, instead of pushing yourself harder, you actually played a little mental trick on yourself? Here's the concept: reverse psychology goal setting. You're probably used to setting goals like, I have to exercise 5 times a week, or I need to be more productive today. But here's the twist. Instead of forcing yourself, create a goal that seems counterproductive, something that works against what you think you should do. For example, tell yourself, I'm not going to exercise today, or I'll just do the bare minimum on this project. Now, hear me out. I know this sounds a little passive-aggressive, but there's logic behind it. The trick here is that when you give yourself permission to not do something, your mind often rebels and pushes you to do it anyway. It's a psychological phenomenon called reactance. Basically, when we feel like our freedom is being threatened, we have a strong urge to regain control by doing the opposite of what we're told. Let me give you a real-life example. A few months ago, I was struggling to finish a video project. The task felt overwhelming, and I could feel myself procrastinating, so I tried something strange. I told myself, you don't have to finish the project today. You don't even have to work on it at all. Honestly, I thought I'd take the day off. But then, something interesting happened. The minute I gave myself permission to ignore the project, I found myself working on it without any pressure. It was like I couldn't resist the challenge of defying my own rules. I ended up getting more done that day than I had in the entire week. It's like telling myself, I can totally take the day off, made me crave the satisfaction of doing the opposite. Here's the beauty of reverse psychology goal setting. It's about shifting your mindset in a way that reduces resistance and makes the goal feel less like a chore. By not demanding something from yourself, you're subtly creating an environment where you're more likely to take action on your own terms. You're freeing up mental space, which actually increases motivation and productivity. This strategy isn't about being sneaky. It's about empowering yourself to break the cycle of pressure and guilt. This isn't just about getting things done. It's about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your freedom from the heavy weight of perfectionism. It's about taking a step back from that relentless voice in your head that tells you what you should do, and instead giving yourself the room to breathe. Because, let's be honest, no one's going to be able to follow a perfect schedule all the time. But with reverse psychology, you'll find that the pressure eases, and you can actually make more progress without even trying. So the next time you're facing a big goal, try flipping the script. Tell yourself, I don't have to do this right now, and watch how your mind takes over and pushes you in the right direction. It's not about tricking yourself, it's about unlocking the freedom to act without guilt or stress. Take control, play with your own mind, and watch yourself break through barriers in the most unexpected way. Number 3, the anti-perfectionist principle. What if I told you that striving for perfection is actually holding you back? Yes, I know, it sounds a little crazy, right? But hear me out. What if the relentless pursuit of perfection is the thing that's stopping you from reaching your full potential? Now, I know what you're probably thinking. But perfection is what makes things great, right? Yes, trust me, I get it. We've all been told that perfection equals success. But here's the thing, chasing perfection can be a trap, and it might be time to break free. Think about it. How many times have you spent hours tweaking something, making sure every tiny detail was flawless, only to realize that you've lost momentum? Or worse, you never even finished because it never seemed good enough. We've all been there, stuck in that endless loop of overthinking, overworking, and still feeling like we're falling short. You know the type, the person who starts a project, gets halfway through, and then throws it in the too hard pile because it doesn't match the vision in their head. Or the one who keeps editing and tweaking, believing that just one more change will make everything perfect, and yet it never does. Sound familiar? So here's where the anti-perfectionist principle comes in. It's a little radical, but stay with me. Instead of focusing on making everything perfect, what if you just focused on making things good enough? What if the goal wasn't flawless execution, but progress? The key here is understanding that perfectionism can paralyze you. It makes you so focused on getting everything right that you can't actually move forward. In contrast, when you let go of the need for perfection, you open yourself up to making real progress, learning along the way, and actually getting things done. I'll be honest, when I first embraced this principle, I had a hard time. I remember working on a video project a while ago. I spent days, literally days, on this one edit. I kept adjusting the color grading, the transitions, the music, and every little detail, convinced that it had to be perfect. But I wasn't getting anywhere. I had spent so much time chasing perfection that the project was barely moving forward. So I took a deep breath, threw out my idea of perfection, and decided to just hit publish. And you know what? The video did better than I expected. Not perfect, but good enough, and people loved it. That moment was a wake-up call. I had been so focused on getting every detail just right that I had nearly paralyzed myself into inaction. Here's the thing. Perfectionism doesn't just drain your time, it drains your energy and confidence too. It's about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your ability to move forward without feeling like everything has to be flawless. When you stop chasing the perfect outcome, you create room for progress, for learning, and for growth. This is about giving yourself the freedom to make mistakes, to experiment, and to accept that perfection is a moving target. You're allowed to take imperfect steps and still get where you want to go. So, the next time you catch yourself obsessing over making everything perfect, remind yourself, good enough is enough. Let go of the illusion that perfection is the only path to success. Embrace progress and watch how things start to shift. Your space, your peace, and your dignity are waiting for you on the other side of perfectionism. Number 4, the minimalist goal. Hack. What if I told you that the secret to achieving your biggest goals isn't about doing more, but about doing less? Now, I know that might sound counterintuitive, especially in a world where everyone's obsessed with hustle culture and checking off endless to-do lists. But hear me out. What if the real key to success is actually about stripping away all the unnecessary distractions and focusing on the few things that really matter? Yes, trust me on this. Sometimes less is more, and I'm about to show you how this minimalist approach can completely transform the way you set and achieve your goals. We've all been there, right? You set a goal. Maybe it's to start a new project, improve your health, or learn a new skill. You dive in with enthusiasm, make a huge to-do list, and then, bam, you hit a wall. You get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of things you have to do, and instead of making progress, you end up doing a lot of busy work that doesn't actually bring you any closer to your goal. You know the type, the person who spends hours organizing their workspace before even starting a task, or the one who spends more time making the plan than actually executing it. Sound familiar? It's a trap we all fall into, thinking that the more we do, the better the results will be. But what if that's the very thing holding us back? Enter the minimalist goal hack. The concept is simple. Stop focusing on the endless to-do lists, the overwhelming goals, and the hundreds of tiny steps. Instead, choose just one goal at a time, one action that directly moves you forward, and give it your full attention. The beauty of this approach is that it cuts out the noise and makes your goal feel more achievable. It's about finding the most impactful action and doubling down on that. The logic behind it? It's simple. When you focus on fewer things, you make better progress in those areas without getting distracted or bogged down by the overwhelming weight of too many tasks. Let me give you a real-life example. A few months ago, I was trying to launch a new project while juggling multiple other tasks. I had a huge to-do list, each item more complicated than the last. I was trying to do everything at once, and guess what happened? I was moving at a snail's pace, getting frustrated, and honestly not achieving anything substantial. Then I decided to apply the minimalist goal hack. I looked at my list and picked just one task that would move me forward, the most important one, and committed to that for the next week. I stopped trying to juggle everything at once. The result? I made more progress in 1 week than I had in the past month combined. It wasn't about doing more, it was about doing less, but doing it with more focus and intention. This approach isn't just practical, it's also incredibly empowering. You're reclaiming your time, your energy, and your mental peace by cutting through the clutter and focusing on what truly matters. Instead of feeling drained by an endless list of tasks, you can celebrate small wins that keep you motivated. This is about mental clarity, about learning to say no to distractions and yes to the goals that truly matter. By focusing on the essential, you create space for personal growth, which is more important than any long list of to-dos. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by all the things you should be doing, take a step back. Ask yourself, what's the one thing that, if done, will move me closest to my goal? And then pour your energy into that. Less is more. Focus on the essentials and watch how your progress soars. Your space, your peace, and your dignity are all waiting for you in this minimalist approach to goal setting. Take the first step today and make it count. Number 5, the procrastinator's paradox. What if I told you that procrastination isn't the problem, it's the solution? I know you're probably raising an eyebrow right now thinking, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But trust me, this is exactly where the procrastinator's paradox comes in. The more you try to push through procrastination, the more it pushes back, right? So what if we stopped fighting it and started using it to our advantage? Sounds a little wild, doesn't it? But hear me out. I promise you'll be nodding along soon enough. We've all been there. You set a goal, maybe it's a work project, or you want to clean out the garage, or even just send that email you've been putting off. You start with enthusiasm, and then, bam, you freeze. You can't get started. The clock ticks, the pressure mounts, and suddenly you're trapped in a cycle of guilt and self-blame. You tell yourself, I'll do it later, but later never comes. We've all experienced that moment when the task feels so big that just looking at it makes you want to crawl under a blanket and pretend it doesn't exist. Sound familiar? We all know that feeling of wanting to avoid work that feels overwhelming, but here's the twist. Procrastination might just be a signal to stop and think before jumping in. Now here's the paradox. The act of procrastination itself can actually help you get things done. Wait, what? How? Well, the trick lies in recognizing that procrastination is often just a reaction to feeling overwhelmed or anxious. It's your brain's way of saying, I'm not ready yet, and sometimes that's exactly what you need. When you stop forcing yourself into productivity and allow that procrastination to unfold naturally, something incredible happens. You give your brain the space it needs to process and sort through the task. This doesn't mean avoiding the task indefinitely, but rather accepting the procrastination as part of your creative or decision-making process. Let me give you an example. A while ago, I had this huge project looming over me, and I just couldn't bring myself to start. I kept putting it off, telling myself I'd get to it tomorrow. But here's where the paradox kicked in. Instead of beating myself up about it, I let myself procrastinate. I walked away, did something else I enjoyed, and allowed my brain to process the task in the background. The next day, when I finally sat down to work on it, I found that I was not only more motivated, but also had a clearer idea of how to tackle it. The delay wasn't a roadblock. It was my mind's way of getting more clarity before diving in. And when I finally got started, it was like the task had already been partially solved in my head. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't an excuse to let things pile up and never finish anything. But what this teaches us is a simple truth. Procrastination isn't always your enemy. Sometimes it's a tool. When you recognize that your procrastination is simply your brain's way of processing or avoiding overwhelm, you can use it to your advantage. It's not about avoiding the task. It's about understanding when you're not ready and giving yourself the grace to take a step back. This strategy is about mental peace too. We've all spent too much time stressing over unfinished tasks, but by embracing the procrastination paradox, you're creating space for your mind to clear. You're no longer forcing yourself into unproductive action, but allowing yourself to move forward when it feels right. This is about empowering yourself to get out of the cycle of guilt and self-doubt that often comes with procrastination, and replacing it with a deeper understanding of your own process. It's about reclaiming your peace, your energy, and your productivity on your own terms. So, the next time procrastination hits, don't panic. Don't beat yourself up. Instead, let it guide you. Use it as a sign to take a step back, process the task, and come back to it when you're ready. The procrastinator's paradox isn't a weakness. It's your mind's way of helping you do your best work. Your space, your peace, and your dignity are all found in the moments where you give yourself permission to pause, reflect, and then proceed with clarity. Take control of your process and watch how procrastination transforms from an obstacle to an ally. Number 6, the social pressure technique. What if I told you that the secret to beating procrastination isn't just willpower or discipline, but social pressure? Yes, you heard that right. Now I know you might be thinking, wait, isn't social pressure something we try to avoid? But here's the thing. What if we could flip the script and use that very pressure to fuel our progress instead of derail us? Stay with me. I promise this is going to be a game changer. We've all felt it. The pressure to get things done when everyone around us is working, succeeding, or making progress. Maybe you've had that moment when your friends are posting their achievements on social media, or your colleagues are constantly crushing their to-do lists, and suddenly you feel this weight in your chest. You know the type. You start to wonder, what am I doing with my life? Or, why can't I seem to get this done? It's frustrating, isn't it? That feeling of being stuck while everyone else is moving forward. But here's the truth. This pressure doesn't have to be a negative thing. What if we could harness that feeling and turn it into motivation? Now, I'm not suggesting you start comparing yourself to others or let that toxic feeling of inadequacy take over. Instead, let's look at how social pressure can work for you. You see, we're hardwired to seek connection and approval from others. That's just part of being human. But rather than feeling crushed by it, we can use it as a tool to get things done. Imagine this. You tell a friend or post on social media about a goal you want to achieve. The second you do that, you've created a little bit of social pressure. People will start to ask about your progress. You might even feel the weight of their curiosity and support. And guess what? That's what's going to push you to take action. Let me share a personal example. A few months ago, I was struggling to launch a new project. I knew I wanted to do it, but every time I thought about it, I'd freeze. Then, one day, I casually mentioned it to a few friends. "Yeah, I'm planning on releasing this new thing soon," I said. It wasn't a huge announcement, but as soon as I said it, I felt this immediate urge to follow through. The next time I saw them, I knew they'd be asking, "How's that project going?" That was the social pressure I needed. It wasn't from judgment, but from the desire to not disappoint them or myself. And before I knew it, I had the momentum I needed to get started and to keep going. What makes this strategy so powerful is that it taps into something deeper, the desire to avoid feeling embarrassed or guilty in front of others. The trick is to use that feeling to your advantage, not to sabotage yourself with self-doubt. By putting a little bit of social pressure on yourself, you create a sense of accountability, not just to others, but to your own promises. It's not about perfection, it's about showing up and doing the work, because you know people are rooting for you. This approach is liberating. Instead of falling into the trap of over-explaining or backing down from your goals, you're stepping into your power. You're setting yourself up for success, not by isolating yourself in the pressure, but by using the motivation of community and connection. You're giving yourself permission to be real about your progress and not hide from it. So the next time you feel that familiar pressure to get something done, don't resist it. Embrace it. Tell someone about your goals, post about it, or make a public commitment. The simple act of sharing your intentions can ignite a fire of motivation that helps you stay on track. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about making progress. You've got this. Your space, your peace, and your dignity. This is how you move forward with strength and confidence. Number 7, the do-nothing strategy. What if I told you that one of the most powerful strategies for success is doing nothing? I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? You're probably thinking, how can sitting around and doing nothing possibly help me achieve my goals? Trust me on this, though. There's a method behind the madness. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to step back and let things unfold. Stick with me, and I'll explain how. We've all been there. The constant hustle to get things done, the pressure to make progress every single minute of the day. You know the type. Wake up, check your to-do list, dive into work, feel guilty if you take a break. It's exhausting. And let's not even talk about the overwhelm that kicks in when your mind races with 1,000 tasks that need your attention. Sound familiar? I'm sure you've felt that nagging urge to push harder, do more, and be everywhere at once. But here's the twist. What if that's exactly what's slowing you down? Now, I know it sounds a bit like a passive-aggressive, do nothing and see how it goes approach, but hear me out. The do-nothing strategy is all about creating space for clarity, creativity, and most importantly, peace. It's not about sitting on the couch for days on end, of course. It's about knowing when to stop pushing and let your mind and body reset. When you're constantly on the go, your brain is running in overdrive, and that constant state of doing can actually drain your mental and emotional energy. Sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Let me give you a real-life example. A while back, I was caught in this whirlwind of work, endless deadlines, a to-do list that never seemed to shrink, and a feeling of being pulled in every direction. One afternoon, I found myself staring at my screen, unable to focus on anything. It was clear that I wasn't getting anything done, but I kept pushing myself to power through. Then I remembered the do-nothing strategy. I decided to step away from my desk, took a walk outside, and did absolutely nothing productive. No emails, no work calls, no tasks, just a break. And here's the kicker. During that do-nothing time, my brain started to make connections I hadn't even thought of before. Ideas started to flow. When I came back, I was more focused and more energized than before. Sometimes, by doing nothing, I actually got more done in the long run. This strategy isn't just about taking a break for the sake of it. It's about reclaiming your energy and clearing the mental clutter. When you give yourself permission to stop, you allow space for new insights, fresh ideas, and emotional recovery. It's about trusting that pausing doesn't mean you're falling behind. It means you're giving yourself the room to come back stronger and smarter. Here's the real power of the do-nothing strategy. It's an act of self-respect. It's about recognizing that you are not a machine and that your mental and emotional health are just as important as your productivity. It's okay to step back. It's okay to breathe. And when you do, you come back with renewed focus, creativity, and motivation. So next time you're overwhelmed and tempted to push through, remember this. Sometimes doing nothing is actually the most productive thing you can do. Give yourself the grace to pause, reset, and come back with clarity. Your space, your peace, and your dignity. This is how you stay in control, stay balanced, and ultimately stay on track. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video gave you some valuable insights into taking a more practical, results-driven approach to goal setting. If you found it helpful, please hit that like button. Your support means a lot. And if you're looking for more content on topics like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Also, share this video with someone who might benefit from it, whether they're struggling with their own goals or just looking for a fresh perspective. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so drop a comment below and let's continue the conversation. Remember, goal setting isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Keep pushing forward, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next video.